It's not what you know that makes you successful, it is who you know. Might sound strange, but it's true that most businessmen, rather successful businessmen, are most connected people, and probably it holds true in case of most of the professions, but not in the military. In the military, you got to earn it in a very hard way. It's a very common query as to how hard is military training. Even while teaching my students in the university or even during informal gathering, they would always like to know how hard was my military training. They would like to know my experiences and on all those stories. Like many life events, it's a matter of opinion, and I'm sure as far as I'm concerned, the military training was very hard, and so will it be in case of any military officers. But beyond the military circle, it is the BCS officers who had the opportunity to undergo the orientation training. Probably they will share the views alike. However, there will be few odd guys who would like to underplay this experience and terming it as easy, but I'm sure that's not right. This is General Sarwar, and you are watching Sarwar's Chronicle. When I joined the Bangladesh Military Academy, I knew none. Being from civil college, I didn't have the similar advantage as that of my friends from the cadet colleges, who would always have a kind of brotherhood across the ranks and files, which I could never imagine. To mimic them, whenever asked by the seniors, I would always say that I'm from ACC, meaning to say Adamji Cadet College. Besides the lighter note, there can be no argument that anyone from cadet college is much more adapted to the BMA ecosystem, and as such, they have a relative advantage over those who are not from the cadet college. We may be very critical about the military role of General Ayub Khan for his martial law and also for his anti-Bengali attitude, but he did a very good thing by setting up cadet college in erstwhile East Pakistan. He's holding his hand the Fozerhat Cadet College that came into being in erstwhile East Pakistan in 1958. However, to me, BMA life seemed like black hole. At least feeling-wise, it was nothing less of it. Black hole is an area of such immense gravity that nothing can escape from it, not even light. Once you enter through the BMA gate, there is no escaping. You are in a different world altogether, where sun never sets, where lights are not switched off, where the moonlight doesn't charm you, your feet are swollen, your heart is bleeding, you don't have time to look around what is happening, you even don't venture to hang on the comforting arm of the nature. You are in a complete mess. It was a world of horror and terror, where everything is designed to source psychological fear and physical rigor. At least until we were trained, that used to be the trend. These days, these traditions have greatly transformed, as we hear from the office springs and also from the juniors. Things have become much more friendlier. However, after the unforgettable reception on day one and the deep haircut on the following day while taking shape, I became so frustrated. Guess why? Honestly speaking, I was not being able to recognize my own geography. And this kind of haircut is known as bati chhat in the military. Such haircuts are usually given to reduce the chances of disease among the closely quartered trainees. But what it mostly does is it thrashes out any notion one may have of his look or appearance. About the academy life, I did not have any clues. I didn't know how to go about it and how to grab the best of opportunities. We had a total of 4 terms, each of 6 months duration. Amidst such muddle, I got a very friendly and supportive roommate who was a chain smoker. Being a smoker myself, I thought he was perfect, and we really never ran short of cigarette stock. He had a college brother from Titumir College who was in final term. He was on the hunt for my roommate, and I never knew what antecedents they had in their college life. So every day after the lunch, this final term, I used to visit our room and punish my roommate. You must be wondering what I used to do then. In fact, I used to blindly follow my roommate and carry out every orders without any excuse and clarification. Likewise, for everyone's mistake, every time is punished in the academy. Apparently seems like unjust, but on the flip side, there are some advantages. It forges strong bonding amongst the cadets, and it also makes you aware as to how and what and how you do things, and that's the way you can reduce the chances of errors. However, my joy of cherishing my roommate soon evaporated. When we joined the academy, it was in the month of January, so many nights we have passed taking bath in sleeping dress and standing still on the rooftop facing the Bay of Bengal. And this is called nice bath in BMA vocabulary. Apart from physical and psychological stress, sometimes we had to go unfed because of making sound while taking meal using fork and spoon. There can be no harder way to punish someone than letting one go on hungry. And in the academy is the first termers who were the favorite praise to the seniors and the staffs. Sometimes I even felt like that we were some subhumanist creatures. You must have watched how scarcity of water causes animals to concentrate around the water reservoirs, particularly in the African jungles, such as impalas, making them very easy prey to the cheetahs and the lions. But in BMA life, you don't have to concentrate anywhere. Anywhere you put in your steps or you are sighted, be it in the dorm, training ground, open training ground, PT ground, house of studies, GC offices, cities, or even in your bathroom, balconies, everywhere you will be chased down by your staffs and seniors. The shouting by your staffs will cause tremor in your internal organ, and the heartless cruelty of your seniors will make you die every moment. Even your known faces will not recognize you, and they would behave in a manner as if they never met you. I was never a chocolate kind of cadet, and therefore I never got a chance to stay under the senior disposal or work in the daily room or doing the assignments. My rough and tan look was always misunderstood by the seniors, and it really brought a lot of troubles for me. So I was a common figure in most of the punishment parades. I still recall how I was dragged over the pile of koro curries, thrown into the hillside drain by the butlers, and I was profusely bleeding. Amidst such cruelty, there had been seniors who would appear as angels. They would quietly call me to their rooms, offer tea, and apply bandage on the wounds. Many a time, punishments in the famous herringbone lal ground by the drill staffs for silly mistakes burnt my skin. Of many such memories, recalling one, I still smile. That was a very harsh day. Somehow or other, I missed the lunch. So in the evening, after the games period, we had to go to house of studies for study period. I was feeling so hungry, and I took a chance to visit the canteen to grab some snacks. As I was approaching to the canteen, I was checked by a second termer. So instead of snacks, I had to be in the longer position. As luck would have, a senior appeared in the scene. He was a big chap, like a Gulliver type physic. So he relieved me of the punishment and put the second termer in the longer position. I vanished from the scene with the stars in my eyes. What else could inspire us in those trying days? Any guesses? No. There had been no Liz Paths portrayed by Rudyard Kipling in his famous short story based on the Englishman's romantic encounter with the hilly little beautiful girl from Shimla. So for most of us, Letters from the parents remain the primary sources of inspiration. Whenever I read their letters, I used to be so emotional, concealing my heart-filled agonies. I would every time write them, I am fine, I am fine. But exactly I knew what I was going through. Those are unforgettable memories. Don't get me wrong, the Bangladesh Military Academy is not only for rigor and punishment. Rather, they have a very comprehensively designed training curriculum that transforms a young boy into an all-rounder, ready to take up the challenge anywhere during peace and war. These young officers form the backbone of the army. And that's why the toughest calls are always answered by these young officers. To enable them to undertake such challenges, they are imparted multitude of training like physical training, weapon training, firing, scuba diving, parachuting, explosive training, survival training, psychological training, computer training, extracurricular activities, horse riding, virtually everything. This training process continues until the end of career. In the military, mistakes are returned in body bags. In the business, one can accept losses in one quarter and still he can make it up in the second or third quarter. But when a soldier dies, the emptiness is forever. None knows better than those family members who lost their fathers, sons, or brothers in action. The wives remain widowed for rest of the life. The kids become orphan, and the loss is colossal by every parameter. Only training can reduce the number of such fatalities. Field Marshal Rommel's very famous quote, "So it saves blood," reminds all of us of the value of training. Yet, the magnitude of training can hardly be written in words as we have undergone in the academy. Mind you, dear audience, military life is all about the art of killing. You kill the enemy or you get killed by the enemy. So the training has to be intense, and that's the reason for which authority accepts some degree of casualties even during the training. Some dies, some goes back with lifelong injuries, some tries to find their luck in other professions. How do you think that this enormous task of training is accomplished in the academy? There are officers who are professionally selected, known as platoon commanders. They primarily undertake the responsibility of training the cadets. They are also known as the makers of the leaders. The cadets have a very little chance to see their face. So after the Almighty, they are called the second god as far as cadets' life in the Bangladesh Military Academy is concerned. I got platoon commanders of varied temperament. Some are very smart, some are very less expressive, yet so kind from inside. Some are very gentle. Some are very expert in using slang that it still resonates my eardrum. And some I thought loved boxing more than anything else. For whatever, I owe them all for what I am. Cadets subconsciously emulate their traits and leadership styles. One day I had an interesting encounter with one of my platoon commanders. Let me share that with you. I was suffering from fever, so I went to the PT ground where I made that platoon commander. So on being asked when he came to learn that I am suffering from fever, he gave me a strong blow that literally shook my teeth, and I had to go to the dentist instead. These officers train the cadets as hard as granite, forged by iron discipline, and transform them into young, dynamic, energetic young officers poised to join in the unit. Of course, they are assisted by the staffs who practically train the cadets on the ground, and the seniors, they teaches the juniors about the norms, customs, and etiquettes in the dorm area. In the formative months, I used to be damn scared of 2-mile test. During every 2-mile test, after crossing 2/3 distance, I used to feel like quitting the academy. But slowly and gradually, I coped with the academic milieu. I became physically strong and made steady progress in other sectors. First and second termers to me seem identical, with the exception that you have a batch junior to you. Third termer or the third term is much better, because that's when the final termers They think twice to exercise their authority over the third termers. Besides, in the third term, you also have a time to study and concentrate in your training, and also you got a time to put your head on the pillow. This is the time when cadets, they start to dreaming to wear civil dress, and also about the crossing of the podium. When in the final term, you are literally king in the academy, none to shout at you, none to bully you. You have the privilege of wearing civil dress. So you really start enjoying the life as a cadet, and you start dreaming, thinking, moving, officers like. Your body language changes, your confidence enhances to a very different level. The spirit that brought us this far is the motto of Bangladesh Military Academy, Chiro Unnoto Mamashir, ever high is my head. We used to always shout it at the top of our voice, even when at the low ebb of our morale and in the hardest time in the academy. So towards the end of my academy life, I put in my best effort for the final exam. Unfortunately, at the height of my studies, I was identified CSCR in my right eye. It stands for Central Serous Chorioretinopathy. It defines building up of fluid behind the retina that causes loss of vision. All these were happening in a time when I was to opt for armed services selection, meaning to say that whether I should be an infantryman or a sapper, engineer, gunner or tanker as I joined the unit. I was also tempted to join Armored Corps because in those days the officers had a fair chance of going abroad for training. Besides, I thought my vision difficulties would not be a barrier in the functional space, particularly while firing tank guns. But my platoon commander thought I should be doing good in the infantry. However, after a couple of weeks, time came when we all passed out, crossing the podium, the moment of crowning glory. If I could, I would have loved to rewind this moment time and again. As an infantry officer, I enjoyed every bit of it. Life was tough, cliched as it may be, but that's the life we choose to. It transformed us from a young boy into a character that not only killed the enemy, but when time requires, they may be also killed. My tribute to all those coursemates with whom I passed the hardest times in the academy, but unfortunately, they had to fall apart. They had to sacrifice their lives for the call of duty in the mission area, in the Chittagong Hill Trucks, or during BDR carnage, or in any other incidents. I remember all of them. Here I end. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.